Starfield has many deep and complex systems that you have the option of taking part in or completely ignoring, and one of the most interesting one of these systems is smuggling. Now, smuggling is one of those systems that we know exists in Starfield because we've seen small glimpses of it and the developers have even mentioned it by name, but it's also one of those systems that we don't actually have a ton of concrete details for, and I think that's because it's a pretty deep system that they want to keep more of a surprise. Now, the main tease that shows us that smuggling is going to be in the game was from the most recent showcase. They were going to one of the planets in the Alpha Centauri system, and when they entered a certain radius around this planet, they entered a patrolled area, and they were contacted from one of these patrols, which started a scan on the player's ship to search for contraband. Now, this player's ship had no contraband, so they were free to land on the planet. But this does outright confirm that you'll be able to have contraband, you'll be able to transport or smuggle that contraband, and because of this scan, there will have to be some type of system that allows you to shield or cover up that contraband to be able to transport it planet to planet. And I think we may actually have the information on how this counter-scanning system would work, because in some of the footage that showed off the ship customization, there was a part that showed your cargo capacity as a bar, and below that, there was something called shielded capacity. Now, the ship that they were showing didn't have any of the shielded capacity, but this seems to be some amount of shielded cargo that you can get by adding certain components onto your ship. Now, this isn't detailing the actual shielding of your entire ship, because right below this cargo capacity, they showed a bunch of additional stats for the ship, and one of them was how much shielding that ship actually had. So that would be the total shielding of the ship, so they take damage anywhere on the ship, and a certain amount of that would be shielded. This shielded capacity located under the cargo capacity seems to be some amount of shielding specifically for cargo carried on your ship. And the big theory around this is that there's going to be some type of additional elements you can add onto your ship that's going to allow you to shield a certain capacity of cargo that won't be able to be scanned. And this would primarily be used for contraband that you're illegally smuggling to different planets or to different systems to transport it to potential buyers. So this shown ship has a cargo capacity of 1180 and a shielded capacity of 0. But maybe if you had this specific component you could add to your ship, maybe it would give you 250 shielded capacity. And there would probably be a separate area where you would put that shielded cargo to where that cargo would now not be able to be scanned. And that is where your contraband, your drugs, your illegal goods would be stored to be able to actually smuggle it without being detected. And just these pieces of information could actually make for a really interesting and deep smuggling system, because not only does this force you to make harder decisions on what you actually want to transport, presumably it's going to be very expensive to put this shielding on your ship, you'll only be able to carry a certain amount, so you have to choose exactly what you want to transport because you're not going to have a large amount of space. But there could also be some additionals on top of this, because even though there's going to be these kind of base scans when entering certain parts of the universe that scan for contraband, there could potentially even be heightened security or more advanced scans that could get past certain shielding or certain amount of shielding. So maybe there will even be different tiers of cargo shielding, and you'll need to keep upgrading to get into higher security areas. So maybe certain planets may have higher security with better detection, so you need to upgrade the cargo shielding equipment on your ship to be able to transport to that specific planet or that specific area. But if you were able to get contraband past those screening systems, you would be able to sell it a lot more, because it'd be much harder to actually transport that contraband to that planet or to that area. And this could also tie into a smuggling objective system. Most likely there's going to be some type of faction or organization that gives you objectives or quests to smuggle to certain areas throughout the universe for different rewards and credits, but while progressing through the smuggling quest lines, they may want you to smuggle to higher security areas as you go through, and having higher tier of shielding systems would be a good way to tie in some progression into that. And it also seems there's going to be a handful of different skills that could play into a smuggling system as well. Now, I'll have a link in the description to this website that lays out all the different skills and information we have for skills in Starfield, but keep in mind there is unconfirmed information with a lot of these skills. Some of it is from a bunch of the possible leaks we've gotten over the years, some of it is guesses, and some of it is just trying to extrapolate information we've gotten from the different showcases. So keep that in mind, all of this is not confirmed. And pretty much all of these skills are going to be located in the social skill tree. Now the first skill is commerce, which we did actually get to see an updated version of in the most recent showcase, and this says that in the settled systems free market economy, almost anyone with the right skill set can open and run a successful business. So this sounds like you'll be able to open up your own businesses, which would also tie into an overarching trading economy for the entirety of the game, and this is something that has a very good chance to be tied into smuggling, because if you open up a business, you would probably have the ability to use contraband or stolen items for your business at a higher risk, and then you would probably have the ability to smuggle in those different resources yourself. And then we have something like theft, which while not entirely honorable and certainly not legal, it is nonetheless occasionally necessary to discreetly remove property from someone's person. So even though this is a different type of system, stealing items from people, this could also play into smuggling, because if it's stolen goods, that would also most likely be considered contraband. So this would also play into a smuggling system, because if you go steal goods from somebody and you want to transport them, they would be contraband, so they would play into the overarching smuggling system. And then we have bargaining, which you can buy items for 5% less and sell items for 10% more, and presumably you would be selling contraband to people, so you'd probably primarily be selling it to fences, or maybe if you're a good enough smuggler, you'd be able to sell this contraband to legitimate businesses. Then we have a skill called determination. Now there is no concrete information on this, but the unconfirmed information is that this gives you reduced bounties, and if you're smuggling a bunch of contraband across the universe, you're probably going to be caught at some point. People are going to be putting bounties on you. Maybe other smugglers or other criminal organizations would put bounties on you, not with the authorities, but more as a hit to try to stop you from smuggling and eating into their profits. So there's a few different things that could play into this skill. And then we have something like bribery. And again, this has no confirmed information, but the unconfirmed is giving you the ability to bribe people. And this would heavily play into smuggling, because maybe you're trying to smuggle to a very high security area and you don't have the correct shielding to be able to do that. Maybe you would be able to talk to a higher up that you could then bribe and they would let you pass. And this would definitely add in another element into smuggling, having to maybe meet and build up a rapport with certain people to be able to bribe them to smuggle more efficiently. But those are the main skills I could find that I think would play into a smuggling system. And even though we don't have a lot of concrete information on how exactly these smuggling or theft systems are actually going to work, we have enough information to know that this is going to be a system in the game. And with how Bethesda games go and how Bethesda games have been in the past, it's pretty much a guaranteed certainty that there will be a system around this and that there will be some sort of faction based around this as well. And comparing this to previous Bethesda games, they probably have a good amount of content based around this, because some of the Thieves Guild quests in previous Elder Scrolls games are some of the best quest lines that have ever been in the Elder Scrolls franchise. So I seriously doubt they're going to skip a system like this. But that's pretty much all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.